Season's going by fast, y'all. Welcome to episode, I don't know what, but we're reading chapter 9, which means we only have about half a dozen left to record. Goes by fast. It's always challenging to record these things, but when it's done, I'm always like, man, I wish I could do more. I wish I could do more. At least 2 more seasons. I'm going to read the other 2 books, but we'll see one at a time. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Stoicism for a Better Life, where I just keep rambling on, and for some reason, you keep listening. Today, we're continuing our free reading of Your User's Manual because I don't want to redo the audiobook that Jason Zenobia did such a great job on. I'm just trying to read the book as I've been asked to do many times because supposedly some of you really like this come hither voice here. Oh, yeah. Voice for radio, y'all. Could be my second career. All right, here we go. Chapter 9, Bad Coding. Why do you find it so hard not to feel and act on emotions when your rational, ordinary mind, whilst calm, logically understands that you should not be afflicted by emotional responses or reactions? They are, after all, a waste of energy, and more importantly, of your precious time. It is due to bad coding. Emotional responses are just like bad coding in that, through nature and mostly nurture, your brain has adopted a series of if-then-therefore statements that are prepackaged, automated responses to events in your environment. For example, you see someone illegally cut in traffic ahead of you. This not only breaks the social contract, but it causes you to miss the green light by 1 car, which you otherwise would have made. If jerk driver does bad. Due to feelings of being unfairly mistreated and unjustly delayed on your way home after a long day of work, chemicals associated with that feeling get triggered in the body, then perceive situation as being unfair, thus releasing epinephrine into the bloodstream. And you turn into the Incredible Hulk as you lash out a few choice words and flip the designated finger. Therefore, lose your shit. If I can run through that if then therefore one more time. If jerk driver does bad, then perceive situation as being unfair, thus releasing epinephrine into the bloodstream. Therefore, lose your shit. Sound familiar? Quote, does the event which has happened to you prevent you from being just, from possessing greatness of soul, from being temperate and prudent, without haste in your judgments, without falsity in your speech, reserved and free, and everything else such that when they are presented together, the nature of man possesses that which is proper to it. Epictetus. Your rational, ordinary mind knows life just is, and the universe just is, and that there is no other reality where things could have gone differently. It knows to simply accept what is with tranquility, as any other response is a waste of time, precious time, and self-inflicted punishment. Therefore, every emotion, happiness, sadness, aroused, angered, jealous, bitter, elated, fear, disgust, etc., is essentially a prepackaged and pre-established if-then-therefore statement that does not conform with your rational, ordinary mind. Our Western culture simply does not teach the more appropriate responses from an early age, and we end up adopting responses we see around us, from our elders, television, movies, and stories. In July 2018, a dozen kids at the young and tender age of 13-14 became trapped in underground caves in Thailand following a flash flood during their hike of the caves. No escape, only a narrow exit now flooded under an immense quantity of subterranean water. Literally buried alive at 13-14. Imagine. It took rescuers more than 2 weeks to get them out. Think about being stuck underground with no means of escape in your own dark tomb for more than 2 weeks. And at such a tender age, no less. Remember, no food, no light, no water source. They're just stuck for 2 weeks. Just the mental image here is eerily terrifying and justifiable to cause anxiety. I feel anxiety just telling the story for the umpteenth time. The thought of this situation is easily more than enough to invoke anxiety in your own and most other Westerners. Yet, as news emerged from the cave, the public saw pictures of tranquil, meditating kids who were at peace, waiting patiently and bravely for rescue. Again, think about how you would have reacted. Most probably by manifesting an unwanted emotion like fear or anger or panic. Not these kids, though. They did not have the same bad coding you and I have. Daniel Kahneman wrote a book entirely on the topic of knee-jerk responses versus the rational, ordinary response of a nobler kind. He referred to the inherent autopilot responses as System 1, and the more thought-out and logical responses as System 2. Freud referred to these as the id and the ego, whereby the id controls your intuitive, instinctive reaction, and the ego dictates your more controlled and thought-out responses. Many have studied and discussed the topic of the lizard brain versus the mammal brain, and these studies go far beyond simple responses to events. For the purposes of your reflections, however, simply understand that there is a discourse within you. There is a part of you that is rational and responds clearly, virtuously, and compassionately. Then, there is the side of you that is emotional and badly coded. Not badly coded in that you have emotions, as emotions are a part of being a human being and unavoidable. But they're badly coded in that you instinctively respond based on emotions, and said responses may be contrary to what your rational, ordinary mind would have done. Quote, "The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten about the gift." End quote, Albert Einstein. This bad coding in you can be changed. Through practice, you can correct your intuitive mind to act in a way that is in conformity with your rational, ordinary mind. Through practice, by reminding yourself of everything you have read and everything you will read here, through their application and repetition, the bad coding can slowly be changed. But you have to start somewhere. Remind yourself you spent years learning, going to school, and absorbing information in your day-to-day life in order to feed and train your rational mind. You must also spend some time feeding and training your intuitive mind. A good starting point is realizing events are not excuses to act in a base way. They are not an excuse to let out any harboring negative feelings you have towards the world. You know this. Everything that happens is already in the past, and therefore should not have any bearing on your responses or actions in the present. A good perspective is a foundation for all Stoic behavior, which is that only moral good or virtue is good, and only moral evil or vice is an evil. Quote, "On the occasion of everything that causes you sadness, remember to use this dogma. Not only is this not a misfortune, but it is a piece of good fortune for you to bear up under it courageously." End quote, Marcus Aurelius, granddaddy himself. This must mean that what happens externally to your thoughts and mind should have no bearing whatsoever on your state of mind. Said otherwise, the choice of your state of mind, of which you clearly want tranquility as opposed to anxiety, is quite literally and entirely up to you in how you respond to the external events. Epictetus was known to tell his auditors that eliminating all, alas, and how unhappy I am from one's life is critical. Repeat the good dogma. Write it down. Read it. Do this multiple times a day and for the rest of your life. The pursuit of tranquility is a lifelong journey, and each repetition of your dogmas, creed, or mantra, whatever you want to call it, is a step towards the end of this path. Each time you face what could have otherwise been an unwelcome event, with a newfound embrace of it simply being what the universe has in store for you, and that it is immaterial to your state of mind, and to just go with it, you take another step down this path. Step by step, you must try and become a philosopher king. That's it. That's the end of that chapter. Another easy, small, digestible gem, hopefully. Next episode, we will continue reading your user's manual. Don't forget to answer the questions. There's a Q&A somewhere in here. We have 3 or 4 of them. What I want to remind you guys is why you're listening to this podcast, why I'm taking the time to record this, okay? Why are we doing this? I'm not getting paid. You're not getting paid. There's something inside of us that is striving for more. The more that I'm striving for is moral goodness, whatever that means. I just want to feel good inside, okay? That's all that means. So if some of this is making sense to you and you're starting to feel good inside, lean into those. Those are the mantras you should be meditating on. Everything that's written in this book is everything that made sense to me. I would expect that some of this would make sense to you, if any. But if anything resonates, you go write that shit down right now in your journal. Life is full of different truths for different people in different ways. Stop trying to find one solution that fits all. Stop trying to find one solution that fits for you. Grab onto anything that makes sense, because the key is remembering. We know what the right thing to do is, and when we're motivated, we can always do the right thing, no problem. It's just a matter of being 1, reminded, and 2, motivated. Use what you can here to find that motivation and clarity. You guys have a good one. I'm genuinely rooting for you. I hope to hear from you if you're having a good time or a bad time. I hope to hear from you on questions so we can answer them on the Q&As. And I hope to talk to you guys next time. You guys have a good one. Anderson Silver, signing off.